Live. Welcome and thank you for joining us on this edition of the Michael Jack Pazdon Show, live to you from downtown Napa by the river. It's summertime, totally, right now, and what we like to do in the summertime is eat lots of barbecue. We like to gather around the fire and enjoy the primal pleasures of meat, grilling slowly over flame. It brings us back to basically the core of our existence, I believe. So we're here to talk to you a little bit about a couple fun things that we like to drink. This is Gabby.
Hi, guys.
Gabby from the Goose Gander as well. And we just like to, drink certain things when we're barbecuing. Mostly, I'll be honest with you, I drink a lot of beer. A ton of beer. But there are some great cocktail options as well for your barbecuing days, and we're just going to make a few of those right now. Right now, somebody's bringing us some barbecue, I believe, to have. Now, people's definitions, thanks, Joy. Thank you. We have some for you at home, too, if you'd like to step in. Now, people's definitions of barbecue can be very different. I like to talk about the first chef that I worked for when I moved to Napa Valley telling me, he was a Southern boy, and he tells me about the time when he moved to Napa and somebody invited him and his wife, young couple, rising star, chef, wanted to go over to some basic winery institute people house for a barbecue, and him showing up there and being terribly depressed about what was going on. Because he's from the South. He's looking for ribs, at least some chicken, maybe, some slow-cooked, low and slow barbecue, and basically everybody out there has got some chicken breasts, boneless and skinless, over a breast, and some sliced zucchini and things like that. Salad. There's nothing wrong with that. If that's your definition of barbecue, that's totally cool. We call that grilling. But barbecue, of course, is more of your ribs. You pair that with some coleslaw, some mac and cheese, but it's all good. All of it is meat cooked over flame, and that brings us to a sort of primordial place inside of our gastronomical selves, and we're actually going to make some sort of primordial cocktails today that bring you back to the early golden age of cocktail making, and ones that actually pair super well with barbecue. Gabby, how's the ribs? You try the ribs? Sorry, this is getting cold.
Nobody judge me if I have meat in my teeth.
That's a good mac and cheese. We stopped at Farmstead in St. Helena on our way down here. Picked out some ribs, some mac and cheese, some coleslaw, and I know it's gross to eat on camera, but we're totally doing that, so deal with it, whatever. First off, I'm going to make a drink for you, which you've all heard about, and most of you consider probably only drinking about once a year, and that is a classic mint julep. Delicious drink, terribly, terribly misconstrued most of the time in terms of what a mint julep is, because honestly, it's different for modern palates than most of the things they're used to. Most people are used to citrus, acid-driven cocktails that, they're great. They're Moorish, as we like to say. They bring the salivary glands into high gear. They make you want to drink more and more and more. Usually you're balancing that acid with the sweetness, whereas the mint julep, proto-paleo kind of cocktail that basically involves just really three things, okay? Mint, well, four things. Let's say four things. Mint, sugar, spirit, and lots of ice. It's a cool, refreshing, but extremely spirituous cocktail that is probably one of the simplest things out there, but maybe one of the most difficult things to make palatable because we're used to that acid. Now, we're going to make a mint julep with whiskey, as tends to be the way these days, but you can make a julep really out of anything following this basic sort of formula. But we're going to take some bourbon here, some Black Maple Hill bourbon in this case, and we're going to put 2 ounces of that into this. Now, this is actually a shaker tin, okay, a cheater shaker. One smaller than we tend to use in the bar. We tend to use our shaker tins that are about 18 ounces. This is 15 ounces. Now, why are we using this? Because we're too cheap to buy fancy silver julep cups. Now, there's great ones online I recommend for home use that you go and get yourself some really nice pewter or silver julep cups, but this is barbecue time. This is kicking back. This is casual. This is backyard. So we're going to use a shaker tin because it's what we have on hand. It works just fine, but honestly, a julep needs to be served in a metal vessel. You'll see why in a minute. So I'm going to put 2 ounces of this into my cheater shaker there, and then the next thing is sugar. Now you could use sugar that you muddled in there, or as you've heard me say before, just take the easy way and measure yourself out some simple syrup. This is a 1-to-1 ratio turbinado simple syrup, and I'm just going to use 1/4 ounce of that. Next, mint. Now, there are some who will tell you that the best way to make a mint julep is to muddle the mint vigorously into, say, the sugar or the bourbon. Some even say you should take the mint and puree it with the simple syrup and leave it overnight to extract more flavor. That's a school of julep making, one that I am not particularly an adherent of. There's another school that will tell you mint has no place in the actual cocktail. It's only there as a garnish. Historically quite potentially accurate and valid. I'm somewhere in between myself, and the world of mixed drinks is an incredibly personal world, and so I say, if you have an opinion, keep it, that's fine. This is just the way I'm going to make my mint julep. It's my barbecue. So I'm going to take a bunch of mint, and I'm just going to squeeze it in my hand here and put it into my tin, swirl it around there. Now, I'm not going to muddle it. I'm not going to pound it, because what happens when you start to pound and muddle mint is it tends to release some sort of bitter off flavors. I'm going to take a bar spoon here. I'm going to kind of work that around a little bit. Then I'm going to take a minute to eat a rib. Those are good ribs.
Made them myself. No, I didn't.
Ribs here are courtesy of Joy, who works up at Farm's Ed. Put in this order. 10 fine ribs. How you guys doing? Who we got here? Guys, introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Scott.
Joy Marie.
Boris. It's a nice day. How come you guys have some food? Joy, you don't have some food?
We good.
Okay, cool. Right? All right. So I did my relaxing thing there. I'll wash the hands real fast. All right, so what's happened here is the mint's infused a little bit in there. And then, you might have seen before, I was taking this is called a Lewis bag. You can order them online at cocktailkingdom.com, or if you happen to find a replacement, it's just an old mail bag, basically. Canvas bag that you can hit vigorously with a hammer, a muddler, or a mallet to crush ice on the inside. If you don't have a fancy ice machine that makes crushed ice, this is an easy way to do it, although it will make you sweat. I'm going to add some crushed ice to my glass here. And I'm just going to take my bar spoon. Now, you would sometimes do this with a swizzle stick, which is a stick cut from a very special tree that makes little star-shaped things. It doesn't matter what you use. You can use a wooden spoon, bar spoon, butter knife, whatever you do. You're just kind of like swishing this stuff around in here. What you're doing is adding water and chilling, because the key to a good mint julep is achieving the proper chill and the proper dilution to make the whiskey and sugar palatable.
Well, it's a hot summer day in Virginia, ain't it?
Yeah, this is a hot weather drink. This is a hot weather drink. What were you saying, Joy?
I said it's a hot summer day in Virginia, ain't it?
Well, it may be. So as you can see on the side of this, I'm starting to get this nice frost on the outside of my cup. This is why you use that special metal cup, because a really good mint julep, I mean, it refreshes with the eyes before you even get to drinking it. You see this frost developing on the outside, and you're like, I want that. I need that. That's going to make me very refreshed.
Like an adult slushy.
Very adult. All right, now it's nice and chilled down. here, and then I'm gonna add a little bit more ice just to top it off, because you want kind of a mound on top of it, because it looks nice, it'll melt down nice. And then, maybe the most important part, some more mint. Now, having great mint is key to making great mint cocktails. Not everybody is as lucky as we are here in California. I picked this mint out of my garden this morning, and just by picking that, I mean, you guys can smell it, you can't, no smell-o-vision, but I mean, the whole room is filling with just this aroma of freshly picked mint. You gotta get this stuff out of the garden in the morning, when it's still cool, put it directly in water, and don't refrigerate it. Keep it just for that day or maybe overnight, and it will just be so giving. You're gonna slap it a little bit to release the aromatics, and you're gonna stick it down inside of your ice on top here, and it sticks right out. And then you're gonna insert a straw. Now, if all you have is a very long straw, you're gonna wanna cut that straw down, like that, so that the straw forces you to drink with your face pressed right up against that mint, because the mint flavor is not going to be so much from the extraction inside of the booze, but more from smelling it, the retro-olfactory mintiness that you're going to get by smelling. Tasty beverage. Yeah, so I mean, basically, barbecue and bourbon,
Thank you.
no freaking brainer.
Yeah.
Nice little mint there, nice little chill. It's gonna be a really nice way to start off your day grilling or barbecuing in the yard. However, I gotta say this, a couple of those and you're on your ass. And we know that barbecuing in particular, I mean, you're talking low and slow, that's your whole day. That may be overnight. Even grilling takes a while. You gotta relax, you gotta put the fire on, you gotta let the fire get going, you gotta wait until you get the perfect coal, you gotta entertain your guests. If you start slugging these down, you're going to be an embarrassing host by the end of the evening. Maybe one, but maybe then you wanna switch to something lighter. Maybe it's beer, maybe it's wine, or maybe it's a cocktail that goes back basically just as far as the julep, which is the sherry cobbler. Now, sherry cobbler in its day was probably the most popular cocktail, and I'm talking its day was the early, mid 1800s, okay? In fact, when America went to the Universal Expedition in France, the World's Fair, in 1867, we brought some paintings from the Hudson River School. People thought they're just kind of all right. We brought some other things, I'm sure we brought inventions, maybe some inventions. But one thing that people definitely liked was the sherry cobbler. There were bars set up and they were going through 500 bottles of sherry per day as people sucked these things down and were wowed by them, okay? I mean, one of the main things being that sherry cobbler was one of the first cocktails that combined both ice and a newfangled invention called the straw. Europeans didn't drink from straws. Americans were getting used to straws, but Europeans were perplexed by the strange reed that you were sticking into your drink. They said, I don't know if this is a good idea. I don't know if this is a good way to drink things. They tried the sherry cobbler, and they said, this is great. We want straws.
I think that's
An industry was born. So, sherry cobbler. A cobbler is a very simple drink. It involves just spirit. In this case, it's not really a spirit, but a wine. So it can be a wine or a spirit. Sherry being a fortified wine, aged fortified wine from Spain. But it could also be made with brandy or gin or whiskey. Sugar, a little bit of orange that you're going to shake into the drink, and then a garnish, usually, classically, berries in season. So we're doing sherry. Now, great sherries for this would be something like a Fino or a Manzanilla. That would be one way to go. Or perhaps, my favorite way to make it, a dry Amontillado sherry. Now, you can do anything. You can use an Oloroso. You can even get crazy and use a PX. It will be a little sweet, and you'd have to adjust your ratios, but you could do it.
Let's see that.
This is a dry Amontillado sherry. So Amontilleados have a deeper, richer color than Finos and a nuttier, almost perceptibly sweet flavor to them. This one is dry, but it's still redolent of nuts and toast, just a beautiful drink and carries its own acidity. Now, there are lots of different recipes for a sherry cobbler in terms of proportions. I recommend that you just experiment because it's low alcohol. You can have a few, play it by ear. Here, for this one, I'm going to customize it to the barbecue that we're eating because we're looking at sweet flavors. We're looking at, some spiciness, rich flavors. I'm going to skew this slightly towards the sweet side and not too big. I'm going to use 2.5 ounces of the Amontillado sherry there, and then I'm going to use about 0.66 ounces of this turbinado sugar syrup. Then the kicker. You're gonna take yourself an orange here, take a slice, pretty thin slice, cut that slice in half, toss it in your tin. Now up to you. Some people like to muddle it, some people just like to shake it. I like to just give it a little press to release a little bit of the juice and a little bit of the oils from the skin there, which is going to be the difference between something that's particularly nutty and something that tastes like the great granddaddy of an orange Julius, which is delicious. Then I'm going to add ice. Pardon me, Gab. Add some ice and shake it. That should do it. Take it out and dump it wholesale into a glass. Now, make sure that you get your orange into there. It's nice. Discard any extra ice. Then, garnish. This is what makes this thing pop. I mean, simple flavors, but then when you create this Baroque arrangement of berries in season, nobody can turn her down. So I got blueberries, raspberries, and blackberries here. Arrange those such. And just for the fun of it, because I have so much mint growing in the garden right now, it's a little bit of mint there. On top, stick this newfangled reed invention into it. And you have a low alcohol, tasty, summery beverage that in surprising complexity and mellowness will stand up really well to barbecue, but you can drink these things all day long.
I can.
Trust me, I have been.
Yeah. Now, Michael, could you make that into a large format for our barbecue?
You absolutely could do sherry cobbler by the pitcher, if you will. You would probably want to sort of muddle some oranges, measure out by proportion your amount of sherry and sugar, add some ice, stir and chill, and then serve it out of a pitcher, absolutely, over fresh ice. That would be one way to do it.
I think you could do like a punch bowl too, right?
You could also do a sherry punch, anything like that. And that's a great question because I mean, honestly, like these cocktails are a little bit labor intensive. And of course, if you're having a lot of people over, you don't want to spend the whole time making drinks. But actually, as a transition, Gabby has a drink that she'd like to make, and which is also a labor-intensive process, but one that includes its own solution to the problem. Gabby, take it over.
So I'm going to make a bourbon peach smash today.
Now, traditionally, a bourbon peach smash has your bourbon whiskey, and you can use any different kind of fruit. It's kind of like a fruity julep, basically, is what it is. I believe it appeared in 1862 in the How to Mix Drinks by Jerry Thomas, and it was right after the julep. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you. You're going to take a little bit of your peaches and your whiskey. I'm going to put a little Cointreau in here today because I think it helps bring out your fruit a little better. And some bitters, lemon, and my syrup. So now what I did is I went to the store today and I didn't want to use anything fancy. I figure if you're cooking At home, you're already going to the grocery store. You're already going to the grocery store and you're buying all your stuff for barbecues. And you don't want to have to make a separate stop at any special liquor store to get anything for anybody to make cocktails. So this is something easy you can put out. You can have it all cut up, have it displayed. You can use mint, you can use basil, your spirit. All you really need is spirit. You could even put lemon wedges on the table. Let them make their own drinks. You're already cooking food. So basically, that's what I wanted to go with today. I'm going to use basil instead of mint today just because we got mint in all these cocktails here. Figured why not, and it goes delicious with some peaches. So I'm going to take about 4 basil sprigs. Kind of just throw them in the bottom here. I'm going to take 1 to 2 dashes of Angostura bitters. And 2 ounces of whiskey. Oh, wait, I gotta muddle my peaches. So this is 1 whole peach cut up here. You can put as much as you want in it. The fruitier you want your drink to taste. I'm gonna put about half of it. I'm using yellow peaches. Me and Michael were talking about this earlier. I tried it with white peaches as well. They don't have as much juice to come out, and it's just, I don't know, it's not quite as fruity and juicy. That's kind of what you're going for today.
Now, a good solution to that problem is if you are using white peaches, you could puree them once they're white and just sort of use it in a measured amount, much like you would with a Bellini. White peaches go great with champagne. Actually, we were talking also, yellow peaches don't go great with champagne, but both of them do go well with bourbon, but white peaches, unfortunately, they're just not as giving when they're ripe. You really do want to sort of get them into a puree to give that sort of lusciousness, whereas yellow peaches, when they're at peak of ripeness, just smash them up and it's just nectar all over
they
the place.
just turn right into a little smoothie, basically. So you want to release your oils from your basil here. Make sure you just push down each of your little peaches here. You can leave the skin on them. You could just cut a half off if you want. You don't have to cut them into cubes like I did. Doesn't have to be fancy. And instead of doing regular, just like the julep, you're going to have your spirit, your sugar, and your fruit. And it can be seasonal, any kind of herb you want, mint or basil. So anything you want. Like we were talking earlier, you can do tequila, you can do vodka, you can do gin, anything. I prefer whiskey with barbecue. So I'm going to put a half an ounce of honey syrup, and this honey syrup is just like the other syrups, half part honey, half part water. My 2 ounces of whiskey. One ounce of lemon. You want to get a little of that citrus flavor in there. And half ounce of my Cointreau. Bring out the peach a little better. And we're just going to shake it up. Well, that's a barbecue shake if I've ever seen one. Everybody, if they want to do it, like I said, buffet style, you can kind of just muddle it into your drink and do a quick shake, keep it all in the glass. You might want to have a little bigger glasses for that. I'm going to use a mason jar today because I'm from the South. Yeah. And I just like to do that. I'm going to strain all this in here. You'll probably see a little bit of your basil, a little bit of peach chunks, which is fine. And we're going to do the same thing, garnish this with our basil on top because you want to get that aroma. Spank it a little. Take your fancy invention here.
Of course, everyone has to giggle at the spank it
It's
a
fine.
little.
Spank your mint, spank your basil.
Say, why do you spank your basil? Because it makes you feel like a man.
You can add any kind of bubbly on top if you want. You can do soda water, ginger beer, anything you want. We even thought about doing some muddled ginger. You could add apricots. You can do any kind of juice. This drink can go so many different ways.
I am not going to give this away. It's ridiculously good right here. Freaking luscious. I mean, the peach comes through. It's nice, it's refreshing. It's fulfilling what, these other ones kind of hinted at. But, when you're eating barbecue, we got some coleslaw here. You might have some collard greens, all that sort of thing. But you're eating a lot of meat. Those of you that eat meat, I'm sorry, vegetarians are really not invited to this party. No. But you're eating a lot of meat, and so it's great to have a cocktail like this that makes me feel like I'm getting a balanced diet through my booze. I mean, we got the green of the basil, lusciousness of the peach.
It's a half a peach in it. I mean,
all right.
You have 2 of those, you got your quick serving.
No, and I really like the idea of, the make your own smash bar. I mean, just think of it. I mean, you come to the party, everybody's mingling around, trying to do things. It's great to talk, but you got stuff to do. So you're barbecuing, you're doing stuff. You got this bar with spirits, all sorts of fruit. Maybe you put out a little recipe, a little guideline for people about how to make a basic smash. Mostly you're trying to put them in the direction of how much spirit to use, how much sweetness to use. Maybe it's, again, your ratios for the spirit, sweetness, etc. Mm-hmm. You lay them out there. From then on, you just say, go to town. Maybe I'm up there and I'm like, I want to put some blackberries in there. And I want to put some blueberries in there. And that looks delicious. And, I see Gabby put out some ginger. I'm going to take out some ginger and I'm going to put that in there. Let's see, I'm going to smash this up. This looks good, like it's gonna stain my shirt. And I'm gonna do this like that. And that's fun. This is fun. Fun at the barbecue.
Yours gonna get a lot more fun the more drinks we have too.
Then, I don't know, maybe I'm gonna should I use, I don't know, what should I use? What should I use? Should I use bourbon? I love bourbon. I can't get away from the bourbon. Maybe, I'm gonna use bourbon.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm putting in some bourbon. And I'm going to use some lemon here. Yeah, I'm going to use that much. I'm going to use some of the honey. Now I'm going to use the simple syrup. Where's the simple syrup? This is my option right here. I'm going to use this. Just shake that up. I'm going to shake it for a long time because I want people to be really impressed at how good I am at shaking stuff at the barbecue. There we go. I'm going to strain that guy out into here.
To be clear, I think we've said this on camera before. I can't get a cocktail shaken at home for Maryland.
Yeah, Joy and I live together. Her boyfriend won't make her cocktails, that's me. But people pay me to do it all day long. And so when I go home, I prefer her to make the drinks. I cook. All right, and then for this one, no mint in there, but why not? I'm just going to put a little dash of that. I'm a happy barbecue guest. I just made my own drink. It's delicious. It's fresh. I mean, basically, this is booze smoothies right here. I mean, you get your vitamins. You drink all day, but you feel healthy because it's fruit. It's delicious.
I love ginger in there.
Here, wait. Try it with the ribs. Let's try it. You gotta try it with the ribs.
You have to wait.
Now, okay, so we got some paleo cocktails on the table. We got this make your own smash bar idea. I love it. We're definitely skewing in the fruitier side of things, the lighter flavor side of things, except for the julep, of course. But one other thing that is one of my favorite things to drink with barbecue is mezcal. Because mezcal is basically, if you're not familiar, mezcal is an agave spirit like tequila. But the main differences being that while tequila has to come from a very strictly delimited area and has to have only blue Weber agave in it, mezcal has a little bit more range, a little bit more range of terroir, has different kinds of agave you can use, and most importantly, where the agave plants that are used to make the base fermentation for distilling tequila, they are steamed, whereas in mezcal, they are fire roasted, which gives it a smokier, more sort of, I don't know, masculine flavor, and one that goes super great in the way of complementary flavors with barbecue. So, margaritas, that's pretty much a no-brainer for your barbecue here, but what if you made one with a little bit of mezcal? Now, everybody has different thresholds for mezcal. Maybe you want to go all the way on mezcal. Maybe you want to cut it with a little tequila. Right now, I'm feeling like cutting. I'm going to do 0.75 ounces of Vita Mezcal from Del Maguey and 0.75 ounces of 110 proof tequila from Tapatio. Yeah. Then I'm going to do 0.75 lime and 0.5 of agave. A little more acid than sweet. I think I'm going to need a salted rim on this one, so I'm going to take some kosher salt, moisten the rim of my glass with a lime, stick the salt to it, because barbecue is not salty enough. No, main reason being that salt has an amazing ability to bring out flavors in a drink and make them pop. Actually, something that we may get to another time, a little bit of salt in a range of drinks can do wonders. But for now, traditional salt rim there. A little ice. Shake that guy up. Now it's at home. You could double strain this, fine strain this, but you're at home. You can just dump it in there. It's cool. Whatever. Stick a straw on it. Put a lime wheel on top. Deliciousness.
Smoky margarita.
Mm. That's going to go good with the ribs. Where are the ribs?
Can you taste it? Can you taste it from there?
God damn, that's good with the ribs.
I don't know what's up with Google glasses. Like, they should invent smell-o-vision.
Seriously.
Now, that guy's going to put you on your ass if you have a lot of them in the course of the day.
110 proof.
But you know what? You worked hard for this barbecue, and you deserve it.
Yeah, keep the bottle of tequila next to your grill.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have a bunch of drunk guests walking around.
Anyway, if you don't want to do any of this work, drink some beer. But anyway, thank you for joining us. This was great. We actually have to get down to the work of eating all of this barbecue. We have a whole table of it over there. Before it gets cold, and making some more drinks. We're going to let everybody make their own smash bar up here. But again, thank you for joining us at the Michael Jack Pazdon Show, and be well with your grill. Good night.
Bye, guys.
Woo!